Well, we welcome in a heartbreaker in his own right, without a doubt. The one and only Roland Martin, host of News One Now. You could watch it on TV One. Hello, Roland.
Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Always great to talk to you. We get to Obamacare and the strategy going forward for the Democrats and for Nancy Pelosi and Debbie Wasserman Schultz talk about how great it is and it's not going to be a problem for them in November. But I want to talk about a column that struck me, a column that was at the Daily Beast by Joshua Dubois. And the title of the headline is "Ben Carson was a role model for black teens until he sold out to the right." And basically, I don't want to catch you blind. I know you don't have the piece in front of you, but he talked about how when he got in trouble in school, his mother made him read a book, and it was all about basically the Ben Carson story and how he, he overcame poverty and a working mother and all this, and became what he became, the head of neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins. But he ends the piece by saying that he was kind of hijacked by the Tea Party, and he writes, "Before our eyes, he is trading in the lasting significance of his impact on the world for whatever small reward is offered to him by CPAC, Fox News, or whatever Tea Party figure applauds him next. And we, the Carson boys, who met him years ago in our low moments and who he helped in ways small or large, can only watch in horror. For us, Dr. Ben Carson's story has become an American tragedy." I mean, you agree with that? You're laughing. I don't know why you're laughing because you agree or disagree.
No, first of all, I'm laughing because it's funny. I mean, the reality is this here. I think what people have to do is, I think you have to separate stories. And so I give you an example. For years, Bob Johnson got criticized at BET for content that was on the network. And I will often tell people, you have to separate the issue of business from what your personal view is. The reality is this here. Ben Carson's story is still a powerful one. It is still one that should resonate with African Americans or any American. And so to me, that's not an issue. That doesn't somehow disappear. Now, if you want to criticize Ben Carson for the political positions that he has taken, I had Dr. Ben Carson on my radio show. I said, I disagree with you with your comparisons of the Affordable Care Act and slavery. That does not negate what he accomplished, what he did. I disagree with Joshua on that one because you can have a dual argument. And I think too often we want people to sort of remain in this same space. It's just like I can look at a Republican and say, I agree with you on this issue, but I disagree with you on these four. Or to a Democrat. I mean, I was killing the 7 Democrats who voted against Debo Adegbile, like Senator Mark Pryor, when I spoke in Arkansas the week before, when he was there pining for black votes, but you turn around and you vote against this guy for the civil rights post. And so we've got to be able to criticize people on issues, on policy, but not somehow dismiss their entire life because now we disagree with them politically.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. But now you brought up something else. Why is it the way to the black voter by voting for a man who made it his basic career mission to defend a convicted cop killer? Why voting for him to be the head of the Civil Rights Department and the Justice Department? Why is that the way to the black voter's heart? I don't get that.
It's interesting. You clearly don't have the facts of the case. The reality is the NAACP, Legal Defense and Educational Fund, had already filed an amicus brief in the case. When he took over as head of the NAACP LDF, they simply continued that. Did he ever appear in the courtroom? Did he ever actually represent Amir Abu-Jamal? No, he didn't. And so there were a number of fund, like many other groups, opposes the death penalty. What you're speaking of is when he was appealing. His death sentence. And so here's what I don't understand. Chief Justice John Roberts contributed 25 hours pro bono work to the defense of a mass murderer in Florida who was later sentenced to death and killed. So please tell me if it's okay for John Roberts to represent a mass murderer, but for this guy as a lawyer to simply file a brief in a death penalty case? Tell me what's the difference.
From everything I've read, his involvement with that case was much, not Roberts, I'm talking about the nominee who was defeated, was much more than just a casual filing a brief.
Have you read the Sixth Amendment? Have you read the Sixth Amendment?
What does that have to do with it?
The Sixth Amendment, which is in our Constitution, guarantees every individual the right to counsel. So are you meaning to tell me now that what we are doing is we are establishing a precedent that now what the issue is we're not going to say, oh, you should not represent that person or that person or that person. Lawyer, the most basic fundamental thing about this country is the fact that we have the right to counsel. It is written in the Constitution.
Well, it went beyond him being a right to counsel. He was one of those who made it his cause celeb and fought for this convicted cop killer to get a new trial, and it's a disgrace.
Are you telling me that with the appeals process in America, that any person, even if convicted, does not have the right to counsel?
I'm telling you that a man who makes it his mission to get a convicted cop killer off does not belong in the Justice Department.
Steve, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court represented a mass...
I know nothing about that case whatsoever. I mean, I don't know who he killed or what he did or what the situation was.
It doesn't matter. See, here's the deal. All of a sudden, you're saying, oh, the situation. What I'm saying is, if the Chief Justice...
Was that brought up during the confirmation hearings?
Yes, it was.
Then again, well, then the senators didn't feel it was significant enough, did they?
And you know what, Steve? And that's where it should be. But for us to sit here and say, oh, no, you shouldn't defend somebody who was convicted of killing a cop. How dare you? The Sixth Amendment guarantees
It's not about being a lawyer for him. It's about making it his goal in life to get this man taken out of prison. That's the difference.
Steve, if you believe in liberty, if you believe in this Constitution, well, then you believe in it. How do we have an appeals process? How do we have a process in America that allows for you to do this? So we're saying, oh, so forget everything. Okay, you know what? You started this with Ben Carson, right? So it's the same thing. So forget everything D-Boy Degbole did in his career, except for this one case. I say the same thing. I will not dismiss
fair enough.
Because he all of a sudden is critical of the president.
Well, fair enough. Although, I just think that that's the last person you want in the Justice Department Civil Rights Division. Although in this Justice Department, anything goes. Anything goes.
The last person I want in the Justice Department representing civil rights is somebody who doesn't believe in civil rights. That's the last person I want in the Department of Justice heading the Civil Rights Division.
I don't think civil rights is making your life's work getting a cop killer out of jail. But we could debate that over and over.
Other work besides one case, Steve. So if you want to diminish his entire legal career to one case, that to me is shameful.
He could have his legal career, but he doesn't belong in the Justice Department Civil Rights Division.
Should have been approved, and to boil it down to one case is nonsensical. And you tell me, how can the Chief Justice defend a mass murderer?
All right,
mass murderer, Steve.
All right, let's move on to some of the news of the day regarding Obamacare. I got this article by Evan Feinberg, who is a president of Generation Opportunity. He's a young guy, one of these guys, and he wrote this at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, talking about the Obama administration. Their marketing towards young people is wrong. They have Magic Johnson. He says, for instance, it was clearly made, the commercial, by someone who doesn't understand anyone younger than 30. Most millennials don't even know who Magic Johnson is. And he goes on, and he talks about other, not just, so don't get race into it. I don't even know what color this kid is. But he talks about that, it's insulting the way they're marketing to the young people, and that's why nobody's signing up. What do you say?
I would say that's nonsensical. It's amazing young folks don't know Magic Johnson, don't know Larry Bird, don't know Michael Jordan, yet they still are ranked in the tops in terms of the best NBA players of all time. So that's just nonsense. You know what? I love this. A lot of young people always say this here, oh, no, you shouldn't be using those people. Well, then they criticize the president for doing the Two Ferns video. Here's the deal. This is very simple.
We got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
A lot of young folks, Steve, are not signing up because folks think that they are just perfect, that everything is going to be great until they face a health crisis. And you know what? I know what it's like. I remember when I was 28 and I was producing for a television network and I was good, never had a health issue until my appendix ruptured. 5 days in a hospital in Los Angeles, nearly $100,000 in healthcare costs. Yeah, no health insurance. So trust me, I've been there. So young folks, yes up.
Roland, we'll watch you News 1 now on TV 1. Thank you, my friend.
So much.
All right, folks, coming up, Give Me 5, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax Television.
The Steve Malzberg Show.